not arrogant, just better. Just going to get my pre-fight predictions on UFC on Fox. Rashard Evans versus Phil Davis for the #1 contender in the light heavyweight division. This fight card looks pretty good from top to bottom. We've got 2 or 3, should I say, #1 contender fights with Phil Davis versus Rashard Evans. We've got Chris Weidman versus Demian Maia, and we have Michael Bisping versus Chael Sonnen. First of all, I'm just going to say this fight card, top to bottom, looks pretty good. I know the last 2 fight cards have been slagged off, but them fight cards were pretty good. The one in Rio was excellent, it got slagged off. And Melvin Guillard versus Jim Miller, I thought was a very good fight card. A lot of good finishes, and yeah, I'm just going to get onto this fight card and we'll see how it goes. First fight I'm going to predict, which is Nick Lentz versus Evan Dunham. Evan Dunham is 12-2 and Nick Lentz is 21-4-2 and 1 no contest, which is the fight with Charles Oliveira. Basically, Nick Lentz is a very good fighter. He's got a very good ground game. I think he's very underrated in mixed martial arts. I know he lost his last fight against Mike Bocek, and it's just a weird one because before the Mike Bocek fight and the Charles Oliveira fight, I thought Nick Lentz is a very good fighter. He hasn't lost in, I think, since 2008, and he's just been a real good fighter, very consistent, and he's been pulling fights out of the bag. Evan Dunham was widely contested as one of the top contenders. Even by Dana White, he was contested as one of the best 155ers. And before the Melvin Guillard fight, he didn't think that Evan Dunham could be finished. And I was thinking down the same pretty much thought as well. But after the Melvin Guillard fight, I was thinking, alright, no worries. But anyways, yeah, after the Melvin Guillard fight, Evan Dunham got injured when he was meant to fight George Soteropoulos, and then fought one of the fighters from The Ultimate Fighter, which I think that was a stupid fight to put him against Evan Dunham, who's a top striker and very good jiu-jitsu fighter. But in this fight, Nick Lentz versus Evan Dunham, I'm going to go with Evan Dunham. I think he's the better fighter. He's not as experienced, but he's black belt in jiu-jitsu and his stand-up is pretty good. And I'm going to give this fight to Evan Dunham. I say it's going to go to decision because before the Sean Shirk and the Melvin Guillard fight, Evan Dunham was finishing people, and I think he's playing a bit more cautious now in his MMA career to get to where he needs to be, and Evan Dunham's going to win this fight. He's going to win it by decision, and yeah, that's it pretty much. First fight on the main card, we have Demian Maia versus Chris Weidman. Demian Maia is 16-3. His last win is against Jorge Santiago, or Jorge Santiago, whatever you want to call him. And Chris Weidman is 7-0, and his last win is a submission win over Philippe Tom Lawler. Both of these fighters are very good. Demian Maia has the more experience in this fight. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but Chris Weidman is a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He trains with Max Serra, but he is wrestling background, and wrestlers always have good top control. And in most of his fights, he has had great top control over fighters, like the Alicia Sakara fight. Alicia Sakara is meant to be a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, which there's no way in hell he's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu because he didn't have an active guard, he didn't have anything. So I don't really class Alicia Sakara as a black belt. In the Philippe Tom Lawler fight, Tom Lawler was pretty much outweighed in every aspect. There was not one aspect of his game which was better than Chris Weidman's. So basically, Chris Weidman is an up-and-coming good fighter. He thinks he's going to be the middleweight title champion at one point, which I don't think so, not at this point. Demian Maia, he's fought for the title once. He's on a bad patch at the moment. He keeps on trading wins and losses in his last 5 or so fights. This is a big step up in competition for Chris Weidman, and Demian Maia is going to be a hard test because his hands have been looking better. In the Santiago fight, his hands did not look as good as they did in the Munoz fight. And I think just breaking down this fight, I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Chris Weidman. I think he's going to be able to dominate Demian Maia in the wrestling aspect. He's going to just not lay on top, but get on top of Maia. smashing from the guard. I don't think he's going to stand up with Maia too much because he knows that his striking is improving, and I think he's going to be stronger, more dominant on the ground against Maia. I know Maia is a second or third degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, but I still give Chris Weidman the upper hand because he's going to be bigger. He's 6'2". He's going to weigh about 200 and maybe 10 pounds when he comes to fight after he's rehydrated. Maia, he comes in and he's got a very dead build, and I don't think he'll put on much weight once he's weighed in. But yeah, Chris Weidman, I'm going to give him this fight. I think it's going to be a good test for him. It's going to be a big step up in competition, and I think he's going to be able to handle the test. I think he's going to be able to not take out Maia, but he's going to be able to beat Maia. He's not going to submit him. It's going to go to decision, 3 or 5 rounds, whatever it's going to be. But yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Weidman in this fight because he looks pretty good and he's an up-and-coming star. So we'll see how it goes. And on to the co-main event, we have Michael the Count Bisping versus Chael Sonnen. Bisping is 22-3, and his last win is against Jason Mayhem Miller, which doesn't really say much because Miller did not look good in that fight. I love Miller to bits because I think he's an excellent fighter, but he did not look like Mayhem Miller in that fight. Chael Sonnen, he is 26-11-1. His last fight, he won against Brian Stan in a arm triangle choke. I'm not even going to go into this fight too much because you know Bisping has the striking aspect. He's got great cardio and he likes to stand and bang. Chael Sonnen is not going to stand and bang with Michael Bisping. Chael Sonnen has never been knocked out really. He's had 2 cuts or 1 or 2 cuts where the fight's been stopped. But I know for a fact that Chael Sonnen is going to double leg Michael the Count Bisping, take him to the ground and beat him up. Because this is the toughest competition that Michael Bisping has gone against, except for Dan Henderson. And when he came up against that great competition, he hasn't been able to perform, should I say. He's always been just the bridge too far. Because I think Michael Bisping is just like, how I picture Michael Bisping, I just see him as the hardest kid in his area, or the hardest kid in the playground. And he's just like kind of a bully, but he's going to run into a bigger bully in this fight. And Chael Sonnen is not going to take no shit from him. He's going to smash him. I don't really like the way Chael Sonnen fights, but he gets the job done and he fights well and he fights hard. And the best thing about Chael Sonnen is his trash talking, because he can trash talk for days and he's very good at it. So Michael Bisping, a British fighter from Cyprus, he's pretty decent. He'll never win the title. I think this is just a open and shut case with Chael Sonnen double legging Michael the Count Bisping, smashing him up for 3-5 rounds, whatever it's going to be. But I know for a fact that Michael Bisping is going to be working on his submission from the ground, and that is Chael Sonnen's weak point. He tries to submit, he always gets submitted from the ground. That's the fight that he loses. He loses by getting submitted from beating people's guards, and it's going to be interesting if Bisping can get this submission going, because Chael Sonnen, he showed that another part of his game with his submission of Brian Stan, which is pretty good because I thought it was just going to be 3 rounds, Chael Sonnen on top and smashing. So yeah, that's it really. I'm not going to talk any more about this fight because you know how it's going to go. Chael Sonnen is going to beat Michael Bisping. I don't think he's going to submit him. I don't think he's going to knock him out. I just think it's going to go decision, and Chael Sonnen is going to win this fight, and he's going to be fighting whoever else, because I liked what he said about if I was Joe St. Pierre or John Jones, I would take a really big gulp right now, because if he fights with either of them, then it should be interesting, because he put in a statement today that he doesn't think Anderson Silva will ever fight him again, so we'll see how it goes from there. Anyway, Chael Sonnen by decision.
It's time!
And moving on to the main event, we have Phil Davis versus Rashard Evans. Rashard Evans is 16-1-1. His last win is against Tito Ortiz. And we've got Phil Davis, he's 9-0, and his last fight is against Little Nog. In the fight against Little Nog, he didn't really impress me. This fight between Rashard Evans and Phil Davis was meant to happen a while ago, but both guys got injured, and one guy pulled out, the other guy jumped in and took fight on short notice, and that's how it went. Phil Davis, very good wrestler, got very orthodox submissions. I think he's a better submission fighter than Rashard Evans, because Rashard Evans has got that guerrilla jiu-jitsu, but I don't really rate it because there's a lot of fighters like John Finch, Keith Jardine, and a few other people from them similar sort of fight camps, and I don't think their jiu-jitsu or guerrilla jiu-jitsu is that great. In the striking aspect, I think Phil Davis, he's got a long way to go with the striking aspect of the game. Obviously, everybody knows that Rashard Evans has the one-punch knockout power, where he knocks out Chuck Liddell. His striking is pretty good. His head movement is good. The way he can cover ground from shooting for a takedown or mixing it up and then going in for a takedown, taking down the likes of Rampage Jackson, taking on the likes of Tito Ortiz. Phil Davis, I think this fight is just going to be a bridge too far for him. I know he's fought big guys or big powerful guys like Tim Bowes, he's fought Little Nog, but these guys are not Rashard Evans, and I personally believe that Rashard Evans is the only person in the light heavyweight division who can give John Jones a run for his money. Rashard Evans is a good wrestler, good powerful wrestler, he's got good hands, he's got better hands than Phil Davis. They're both Division 1 NCAA wrestlers, so you can't really say who's the better wrestler in each aspect. Phil Davis is going to be bigger, he's 6'2", Rashard Evans is 5'11", but Rashard Evans packs a lot of weight and a lot of power into his frame, and I just think this fight is just a not big bad fight for Phil Davis. I just think it's going to be a bridge too far, and he's going to be out of his depth in competition against Rashard Evans. I think Rashard Evans is a better striker, better grappler, better in every aspect, and he will be next in line for this title against John Jones. But I think it's a bit cruel that the way that John Jones has gone about it. He knows that Rashard Evans is waiting, but then he says, "Oh, I'll take time off," and then comes back and then says, "Well, you're fighting someone else already, Rashard, so you can't fight for my title." But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go with Rashard Evans getting this fight won. I'm gonna say second round. No, I'm gonna go decision because I think Rashard Evans is going to try out wrestle, and I think this fight card may have a little twist because pretty much from all the main three fights you've got Chris Weidman, wrestler, Chael Sonnen, wrestler, Phil Davis and Rashard Evans are both wrestlers, and wrestlers tend to play a bit cautious. Hopefully it's a banging fight card and I'm wrong with how I think it's going to pan out, with if it's going to be boring or exciting, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes, and that's it really. Yeah, and that's it for my UFC predictions on Fox, Rashard Evans versus Phil Davis. If you have a prediction, a comment, post them below, let me know what you think, and remember to rate and subscribe to this video and my other videos, because I've got some good ones coming up, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is Runner, signing out. Peace.